Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're tired of waiting. My I am feeling impatient, and now I'm going to be speaking purely on entertainment. I feel like in other areas of my life, I can be rather patient. I can wait, okay? I'm a waiter, all right? Well, not a waiter, but I I have the capacity, the ability to wait for things, okay? I can wait for any number of reasons. I can wait in lines for stuff. I can wait in line for like food or meals, right? Like going into a restaurant, you would be like, I can't wait for this, but then like, you're already in the line and you're suddenly like, you know what? I can actually wait this through. I can wait. You know what I mean? You and I feel like I can wait for that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Other people are impatient. And I completely respect that. I totally understand that. You know what I mean? Why would I wait for this one thing when I can just like get the same thing but not have to wait? I think food is maybe a bad example. Most people are willing to wait for good food. You know what I'm saying? Like you go to Italy, you're gonna have to wait a while for some tables to open up because everybody wants to dine there. Or I don't know, maybe like a concert or like some sort of experience, maybe like some sort of event. Maybe like amusement parks. People are willing to wait for like the greatest ride, but it's going to be so much fun, and then you want to do it over and over and over again. I feel like that's a better example of like waiting. You wait like maybe an hour or two to get onto the ride, supposedly, right? Like obviously there's like the fast pass, but everybody gets the fast pass, and then it's like you still have to wait. I don't know. My point is speaking purely on entertainment, and by entertainment I mean television and film. I mean amusement park rides are entertainment, but it's like a physical park. It's a physical tangible thing. Like you can just go there and get it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not the same thing as having to like passively wait by, whereas like where you wait in a real line to get on a ride is like you're actively waiting and you're going to do something eventually once you get to the end of the line. But passively waiting is when you have no control over the situation. You're basically at their schedule, at whoever's making stuff, and then slowly but surely once it gets to you, you get a nice little chunk. You get a nice little, let's call it a cookie, okay? You get a nice little cookie, and then they kind of just say like, all right, that's the end of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're just like, what? I just got this one. And they're like, yeah, but you can keep on. The thing about it is, what would be a good analogy for it is like, the great thing about eating this cookie is that once you eat it, once you process it, once you like pass it through your body, you can eat it again and again and again, right? So I guess what I'm trying to refer to here is that like when they release a TV show per se, okay, a very popular TV show, any number of them, all right, this is an amazing time for television and film and all this other stuff, right? They give you what you want, you know what I'm saying? But then you're like, I need more. This is taking too long, right? Like it's become a habit for people to release like fewer episodes but higher quality. And now I'm not saying quantity over quality, but there used to be like a whole there used to be a time where the quality and the quantity would meet in the middle, right? Like they used to release at least like double digit episodes of TV shows and series. You know what I'm saying? Like they used to really really do it like that. Now I just feel like, well, they're not really, not that they're not putting in the effort or the work in. It just, for some reason, the costs have gone extremely high, and I don't know. I guess I feel like they should give more. I don't know. I'm just you're tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting for so much stuff to get done. And you know what it is? You know what the problem is that they don't know when to end things, okay? They know they're making a lot of money doing what they're doing and they're just reeling in the dough, okay? That's what it's all about. That's really, when you get a good TV show, when you get a good movie or whatnot, it's like, let's franchise it. Let's do a spin-off. Let's really drain it of all of its juice, you know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, we're going to make people wait and wait and wait for the next one. And then we're going to leave them on the cliffhanger. And then there's going to be like a two-parter to this or whatever. And I feel that so tremendously. Like, okay, last year, and I think I said this last year, when I was doing my Across the Spider-Verse review, or when I talked about it on the podcast, I kind of was like, I like the movie. The movie's amazing. There's no denying that. But it didn't feel like it had a proper closure. The movie didn't officially end. It's left on a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? There's no definitive ending to the movie. There is just well, you'll have to wait until the next one comes out. And they're still in the process of making it. And I just, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. They got to take their time. I trust them. You know what I mean? They did such a great job on Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. I trust them with Beyond the Spider-Verse. What can I really say? I just need the movie out now. I just need them to provide me with with a definitive closure to the story. I just feel like this constant, you have to wait for them to really work on it. I'm just like, no, give me the full thing. Now sometimes that is a good and bad thing, I should say. It's kind of like it's like they release a movie. I'm trying to think of The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was a book, right? It was already out, everybody, or Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, right? There were books that were turned into movies, and the books were before the movies, so you could read the books and know the full story, okay? And then you could watch the movies, you know what I mean? The movies were kind of like a visual spectacle to represent it, you know what I mean? You can come up with the world in your mind, but they explicitly show you, the characters and who they are, and like it's personified through these actors and whatnot, you know what I mean? The whole world is kind of shown. Same with Harry Potter. You know the story, it's just that now they're breathing it to life with the movie, you know what I mean? They're putting the story into like 2-hour time frame so you can get everything. And then the little details are in the book that you read can be like added on or maybe, I don't know, taken away or kind of like overlooked, or you just get little tidbits and pieces here and there, right? But an example that I'm trying to give here is that like the story is fully out. They already, the story. The time it takes between the book, the movies coming out and the reading the books, I think that's the problem here. Okay? The problem is we want the movie, not the book. We don't really want the story. We just want to sit back and watch. I don't know. I think because I remember when the Percy Jackson movies came out, and I had read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, and so watching the movie, I was like, the movie's amazing. It's just like the book. They do it like all this cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I like the, obviously the whole aspect of it, but I don't know. There was something like they never ended up finishing the Percy Jackson series. And only now are they doing the TV show for Disney Plus, I think. Right? Like, Think about that. Think about that, okay? Back in when I was in middle school, I read the book and then they were coming out with the movie, and now they're just redoing all this stuff. You see how much time it took, okay? How much impatience there is to get things done. You know what I'm talking about? There's no real the story is so not done yet, but the story is already told. The story is already there. Now they're just trying to show it through film and television. And that's the part that bothers me. I don't know. The story is already out. I could read the books again, but it's just a matter of like I want to see how they visually present it. I don't know. All I'm trying to say here is I'm tired of waiting for the next season, waiting for the next film in the franchise. I'm tired of waiting for the conclusion to the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, get it done and show it all to me in one go, I guess. But then things would be boring that way, wouldn't they? I guess an opposite to Across the Spider-Verse would be the Mission Impossible movie that came out. The Dead Reckoning Part 1. Okay, that's a Part 1 movie, okay? That means they haven't finished telling the story. They've just shown only the beginning of it, or like, whatever, the first part of it, okay? Now, and difference between that movie and Across the Spider-Verse is the Dead Reckoning Part 1 ends. The movie comes to a conclusion. I feel like the movie does a good job of like having the characters go for a specific goal, and then they achieve it, and then that's the end of the first part. We got the first job done. Then the second part will obviously be the remaining goal. What comes next? What comes after? What do we have to get done? And because of that, I feel like it's a more satisfying conclusion to it, right? Like you could rewatch that movie and not be like left on a cliffhanger, but you are on the cliffhanger, you know what I mean? So it kind of does a good job of balancing it. Like, it's over, but it's not over. There's still more to be done, but we did the first part and it concluded. Like, that's what I like, is that the movie is over. I remember when they were coming out with Infinity War. With Marvel, they came out with Infinity War, and initially it was Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, but then the directors, they were just kind of like, no, we don't want it to, we want each of the movies to be like their own separate thing because they're so different in contrast, right? And thinking about it now, it's like, yeah, that's so true, is that they are completely different films, and they have to each stand alone on their own, you know what I mean? So that's how we got Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and they kind of are together, but they're separate, you know what I mean? They're two different films. If they were Part 1 and Part 2, then we would just be kind of like, it doesn't really fit. But because they're two different films, they're like, okay, there's a clear distinction between the two, and their themes and what they're working with and what happens. So that's kind of how I feel about Across the Spider-Verse and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, is that Part 1 and Part 2 of Dead Reckoning are the same, but it's concluded, it's over. Across the Spider-Verse is like the movie ended, but it's left you on a cliffhanger, and now you have to wait X amount of time for them to come out with the next one, and by then you're just kind of like, you know what I mean? You're built up all this tension, and now it just kind of, I don't know. It just, how should I say it? It leaves you wanting more, which is a good thing. It's a really good thing. I just feel like my impatience is forcing me to like keep on waiting. Like I can go back and rewatch Across the Spider-Verse and be like, at a couple scenes, I can't rewatch like the full movie, but I can go back and I can rewatch Miles escaping from the from the Spider-Man headquarters. I can go back and watch what was it? When he fights Spot. I feel like that was a really good moment when they like fight the first time and like the bodega and whatnot with the ATM and stuff. I thought that was pretty funny. And I guess the ending is the one that like I keep on going back to because he's in a different universe and now I have to like, you know what I'm saying? It just, there's certain moments I can't rewatch the whole thing. Whereas I feel like with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, I can rewatch it comfortably and feel good about like it's over, but there's still more to do. Does that make sense? Maybe that doesn't make sense. I'm trying to think of a good movie where it's like it's concluded, but it's not over per se. Trying to think here. I'm thinking about like other. I'm trying to specifically think of franchises that everybody knows. Maybe the Dark Knight trilogy. Well, maybe specifically Batman Begins into the transition to the Dark Knight. Like Batman Begins is a great start to that trilogy, but the movie concludes, but it leaves you with like a little teaser at the end, like a little, not post-credit scene, but it's just like they leave a little bit more to be desired, you know, with the Joker. That's kind of what they were hinting at the end of Batman Begins. So because of that, you get the conclusion, but you also get like a little bit like a, oh snap, next time it's going to be something great. You know what I'm saying? I hope I'm making sense here. It's just that like Batman Begins can be its own standalone movie, but not end on a cliffhanger and leave you impatiently waiting for the next thing to happen. Anyways, I guess it also stems from like this digital era where it's like before movies would only come out on at the theaters and then they would release on like VHS or DVDs and whatnot. And it was kind of like you have to go to the theaters to be in the know. Whereas now it's like with all of this piracy and you can like digitally watch stuff like automatically on streaming services. It's like we're in such a I want this now, I need this now, you know, give it to me all in one go, which I guess comes from like streaming services like Netflix or I want to say Amazon Prime, but Amazon sometimes like releases it in sections. Like they'll release like a chunk of it, like half of the series, and then they'll release another half like later on. But something about the digital era, because I guess there's so much film and movies and TV shows out that it's like you can just get it in the palm of your hand on your phone. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's so easy to access that waiting around for like the next thing is kind of like, darn it, now I have to wait, 2 years for them to film the thing, write the thing, create the set design for all of it, to do this, to do that, to shoot on location, to, all of these little variables that I'm not a part of and not in control of, that it's just like, I passively have to wait for them to get out the next thing. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. The wait time is important. Is it though? Yes, it's kind of important. It's because, like I said, there is so much, entertainment out right now that it's going to feel like, think of all the things that, when I think of all the things that I've waited for and that have passed already, and then now I'm kind of like, all right, that was cool, it's over, now I have to wait for the next thing. It's like, I guess you could say I'm unappreciative of the things that have already been released. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're upset that, you didn't get the third Spider-Verse movie, but you're not, praising Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse. Like, you're not just constantly rewatching those movies. And it's just like, I could rewatch them all the time. It's just that, like, then I get bored of them. And then once I get bored of them, then I just, like, I keep on having to wait anyways. You know what I mean? But that there's always something new coming out, essentially. It's like there's something to keep your attention focused. But I don't know. I think that I guess there's just kind of like this constant want on my half to kind of just get the full story in one go. Because I remember trying to think of the exact TV show. I think I'll do anime just because I particularly remember this. I remember watching. Oh no! I got a better one. Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is a great example. That when I like fully watched that, they had already released the full. The show had been concluded. All 3 seasons were done, but they were doing reruns of it on Nickelodeon or wherever they were doing at the Nicktoons, I think it was. And they would do like a Avatar: The Last Airbender marathon. And back in the day, they used to have you could record it on the DVR, so that's what I did. And then you could watch the episodes in full. So we didn't have like Netflix to just watch it all in one go, but we could record each episode, save it, and then watch it, and then you could go through the whole thing. So from beginning to end. So from the beginning to the end of it all. And I remember watching that whole series that summer, like however long it was, right? I didn't have to wait for each season to come out. Like, I guess some kids had to. I don't know. But I know for a fact that I watched that whole series all the way through, and I didn't have to wait a year or two for like the book 2 to finish to get to book 3 and then wait each week as they kept on releasing episodes. I just got the full thing there, and it concluded so beautifully that it does help that Avatar: The Last Airbender is like one of the greatest TV shows ever. But the point I'm trying to make here is that was an example of a story that they gave me I could absorb all in one go, and that to this day I am still rewatching and amazed at it. You know what I mean? I never get tired of it, and I get a little quote unquote disappointed when they come out with like not disappointed because that story alone is sufficient, but like when they kind of come out with other stuff afterwards, like when I watched Legend of Korra afterwards, like I had to wait. Book 1 came out, whatever it was, Air, I think, and then there was like this waiting period for book 2, and then by then I kind of like, all right, like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't as hype as when I first watched Avatar, because Avatar was like I could just watch book 1, book 2, book 3 all in like one summer for myself, and I didn't have school, and I could just like enjoy the show. But when I kept on waiting for like the book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4 of The Legend of Korra, I just kind of like somewhere along the way I kind of like faded away from it, and I kind of never came back to it until later on when the story was complete, and then I could like really watch it all. And then by then I guess I kind of had such a admiration, a huge love of Avatar: The Last Airbender that I never really gave Korra the chance that she deserved. Anyways, enough about like that specifically. I'm just trying to give an example of something that I absorbed all at once and that I still love to this day, like as long as it holds up. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my point is if they were to release like everything all at once, it would have to depend on the quality of what they give, right? It can't just be give you all of it at once. And then it's like, you can tell that the quality is not there, as opposed to giving you so much and then it's like top tier. So that, I guess that's the difference, is that like the studios or whoever's in charge don't want to release a full trilogy in 1 year, right? Like I keep on thinking to myself, like, man, they should, you know what they should do if they have like a huge moneymaker on their hands, they should release the movie like in sections throughout the year and have the story take place all in 1 year and da 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 da. You know what I mean? So like if it's a trilogy, you release them like every 4 months. So you would release it in January, then you might release it again in April, then you release it again in August, and then you release it the last one in December, and then it's like a full story. Well, is that 3? No. So it'd be like January, I guess you could do May, and then you could do September. Or however you want to do it. However you arrange it, okay? All I'm trying to say is that would be my idea. But then the studio would have no idea if it was like successful or not. So it's like, we spent all this money, we took this huge gamble, we filmed this whole thing over the course of like 3+ years, and we didn't get any results out of it. So that's why they have to release it one by one. It's like, we don't know how to test well, we don't know what's going to happen, and blah, 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 blah. I'm just trying to make excuses of why I'm so stuck. I'm so quote unquote bored. Bored's the wrong word. I guess I'm just kind of like in this state of limbo where it's like, I have a great story to watch, but it's not, I guess it's not the full picture. You know what I'm saying? I get like, there's only 2 seasons of the thing out, and I know they're coming out with a 3rd, but it's going to take time for them to cook, and because it takes time for them to cook, I want to be in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. I just want it all right there. I want to be like in the kitchen, and I want to sit there and be like a part of it in some sort of way, instead of have to sit back and be this, you know, waiting customer who just like can't get into the kitchen, can't be a part of it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of that kind of little hassle. But that's what everybody does. Everybody's waiting, you know? If I were alone in this, then, you know, it might suck a lot. Like, imagine if, I don't know, let's say, well, I guess if I was the only one waiting for the next Spider-Verse movie, then yeah, it would be like terrible. But because everybody's waiting for the next one, then it's kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, you all don't know as much as I do. And then there's like, you can make a community speculating, doing theories, coming up with like ideas of what might happen, you know what I mean? Friendships are born and bloomed, or online debates are had. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not all bad. It's just kind of like what you do with the time in between. And that's life, you know what I'm saying? It's just, for me, the way I'm feeling, like when I watch, I'll give another great example. Stranger Things. When that first came out on Netflix, it was like the talk of the town. It was like their first real original series, and it was like such a big deal. And the fact that they're still coming out with another season or more stuff with it, it's kind of like, hold on. You're telling me that there's still more story? Is it that good? And then you rewatch and you're like, it is that good. It's amazingly good. you want more of it, but you have to wait, and it just becomes like a big kick in the nuts, really. It becomes this waiting game and idea game, and you don't know what's going to happen or what might happen, but that's just kind of how it rolls, I guess. So now all we have to do is wait for the next thing. And then once that thing we were waiting for comes, then there's the next thing. And the next thing and the next. It's a cycle, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying for me, like Stranger Things, I'm pretty sure this next season's going to be the last. Pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain of myself that that's going to be the last season, and then the full story is told. And then now you're kind of like, oh snap, you know what I mean? Now that you got the full story, I wonder what it must be like to be like a kid in this day, or like imagine you're a baby born today, born at this time, and the things that I'm crying about, waiting for, they're gonna get in full totality. Okay, like I grew up and I would watch the Marvel movies. All right, I watched every single one. Maybe not all of them in theaters, but I did watch all of them. Okay, and it was all a build up. It was all a build up, right? And then I remember going to the theater and watching Captain America: Civil War, and I was just like, oh snap! Like almost everybody comes together, and it's like this huge fight, this big brawl, and I was like, that's cinema. That is so crazy. That's the movie going experience that I love. And then they kept on doing it bigger and better with Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Like it was all a big build up to that moment, right? All of my childhood was watching those movies. It was just like becoming so ingrained in my entertainment knowledge and my storytelling expansion of like how stories can be made and like how they can be told and how they all interconnect and can be interwoven and make this amazing world, you know what I'm saying, over a 10-11 year period. And then some kid just gets born and all of a sudden they get all those years, all those movies in one go, and I'm just kind of like, but you weren't there, you know what I'm saying? But they can have just as good attachment to it, just like I did with Avatar: The Last Airbender. But long story short, I'm tired of waiting for the next season of stuff. Okay? I'm tired of waiting for the next film of things, okay? Of a franchise. It's just like, give me the whole thing. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking is like, you got the quality. You got that good. They know it. And yet they force me to wait outside of the kitchen. It's a shame. It's a real shame. So, yeah, I just, I need to get that off my chest. I'm tired of waiting for it. And even if, all right, let's say they did, like, just give me the goods right off the bat. I guess this is really just a me problem, huh? This is really just I can't, be patient enough for the next thing. But I feel like as I'm getting older, I get like just a little bit more like, dude, like I was, however old when this thing came out. And now as the years go by, I'm just getting older and the characters in the show have not changed at all. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of funny to think about it like that. What's another entertainment example? It would be almost as if, I don't know. What is a good example? Because for the most part, you can kind of see like year by year growth. Like for the Spider-Man, it's always like, well, he was in high school, now he's in college, and then after college he gets a job or whatnot, right? Like they always do like a progression like that. Or like in Harry Potter, is like he was in his first year, then his second, you know what I mean? He kept on getting older and we could see it, we could really recognize it. I'm just trying to put into my mind, what is an example of like characters staying the same? I guess cartoons, right? Cartoons, or maybe an anime. Like, I guess the closest example I could give is like maybe My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen, where it's like they're all still teenagers after it's been like however long it's been. Like Jujutsu Kaisen is like in 2018. It's been like 6 years. You know what I'm saying? And they're still in that first year. So it's just like it's all a puzzle. So anyways, guys, I'm tired of waiting. If you're tired of waiting, say hallelujah, you know. Throw a hallelujah to me, you know what I mean, when you see me. And I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you so much for listening.